two Klezmer bands. Klezmer Creek, which has been together for over 15 years, and Sonoma County Klezmer, which has been playing several years around the county. So without any further ado, I'd like to have Paul start his presentation, and here's basically the outline. Here's what you're going to learn. Klezmer, what it is, and I'll let him take it from there.
Testing. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming. And I want to thank Howard for inviting us. Thank you so much. So Klezmer is a fascinating topic. What is Klezmer? Well, it's not just one thing. In the old world of Eastern Europe, Klezmer music was not called Klezmer music, it was just Jewish music. So, for one thing, we could define Klezmer music very simply as the instrumental music and dance music of the Jewish people and the Roma peoples. Does everyone know Roma equals gypsy? Gypsy, like Indian, is not necessarily what they like to be called. They like to be called the Roma peoples. They're the people of Hungary, Romania, Ukraine. So, the first meaning for Klezmer, coming from the Hebrew words clay and zemer, meant instrument, means vessel. Clay is vessel, zemer means song. So clay zemer, instrument of music or musical instrument. Klezmer. That was the first meaning. So, Klezmer instrument. So, after a while, Klezmer came to have another meaning. It came to mean the musician who played Jewish music. He or she was a klezmer, plural, klezmorim, the klezmer players. So,
would you like me to write?
I love it, but that's what you were recording.
I'm recording.
She is an amazing calligrapher. And her writing, you'll be able to read.
Don't you have another piece in your hand?
Yes.
Okay, and where's the eraser?
Right there?
Okay.
No? Where's the eraser? Oh, yeah. Okay. This is my wife, Beverly Alexander. She is recording this, and she is going to be writing. So, first, Klezmer meant instrumental music, right? Then, later on, it came to mean musician who plays Jewish music. It wasn't until the late 19th century the term klezmer meant the genre of music called klezmer. So, now klezmer means klezmer music. So, what are the origins of klezmer music? There were two sources, sectarian and secular.
Could you hold the microphone closer to your face, please?
My voice is pretty hopeless, but I'll try. So two sources, sectarian and secular. So the sectarian religious came from the melodies of the chazonis. What are the chazonis?
Oh, cantors.
Cantors, that's right. The cantorial melodies. The melodies sung in the synagogue. The melodies sung to announce that it was time to go to the synagogue. To remind people that it's the Sabbath. So, and also melodies played for Jewish holidays, like Passover Hanukkah, Simchat Torah. No, you don't have to write over them. Thank you. So, the secular origins were from the folk music and dance music of the various cultures that the Klezmorim traveled through. The Klezmer musicians were itinerant. You all know that word? Nomadic, itinerant. They traveled from town to town, country to country, trying to make a buck. You might find it interesting that the Klezmer musicians were not highly respected. Ever since the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 AD, the rabbinic rabbis turned, they said that Klezmer popular music, dance music, joyful music was not allowed in the synagogue because of the destruction of the temple, because of the mourning related to the destruction of the temple. So they begrudgingly allowed klezmer music to be played at weddings, because in the Bible it says we must rejoice and celebrate weddings. So wedding music was okay. So that's one of the main sources of klezmer music, was wedding music. Also the folk music of the Roman peoples and all the peoples they came into contact with. So, Jewish weddings are fascinating. There is music for every part of the Jewish wedding. But that was in the old world of klezmer. It's not very much understood today. I'll give you an example. There was music to prepare the bride for the wedding, and music called the Nachspiel. Ashpielen. So the Ashpielen was the preparatory music. This is the move for the wedding. There was one for the bride and one for the groom. And has anyone heard of a bodkin? Well, a bodkin was the kind of wedding jester and master of ceremonies all tied into one. And his job was to keep things moving at the wedding. But also, there was something called the bedecking, the veiling of the bride, the besetzen, the seating of the bride, the beweinen, bringing the bride to tears. That was part of the bodkin's duty. And there was music for every aspect of the Jewish wedding, including, of course, the happy music for dancing. There was music for the tish, the table of the groom's family and of the bride's family. Different tunes for each segment. So quite elaborate. That's all part of what we call old world klezmer from way back. We're going to get to music soon, don't worry. But I find this fascinating. Neither me nor Patti are scholars or historians or ethnomusicologists. Mostly we've done performing of klezmer music, and we've gleaned a little bit along the way from what we hear from other people. But this request by Howard sent me to the books. And you'll see later, there's a display over there of a lot of the books that I've been using for research. And there are also CDs from, some are just displayed to show you what famous klezmer groups put out. And some are from my group, Jubilee Klezmer Ensemble. And they are for sale. And the money that someone who kindly offered us, who underwrote this occasion, plus any money we get from CDs, will all go to feed hungry people in Sonoma County. Food for Thought in Forestville, and Midwood Empire Food Bank. So, CDs will be $10 or whatever you'd like to offer, more or less, but all will go for charity, for feeding people. Thank you. And on that CD, one of them, you'll hear Albie Cass, who is deceased now. Dear Albie used to sing with us in Yiddish. And he was born in the Bronx and was an Ashkenazi Jew. And he played Tevye in Fiddler on the Roof in at least 4 local productions in Sonoma County, San Francisco, and his wife, Wally, played Golda. So you can hear him singing Yiddish on that CD. He's amazing. With a beautiful soul. So I think to start, I want to say that the original source of music for Klezmer, for Jewish music, goes way back to the Middle Ages. 1300s, 1400s. There were Klezmer guilds. The first one was in Germany, Metz, in about 1390. The one usually referred to the first one was in Prague in 1588. These guilds would tell the musicians when they could play, what hours, which instruments they could use. It also gave them money if they were sick, health care. It was amazing, way back then. So, yeah. Okay, let's talk about some music. The first thing I would like to play is a Nachspiel from the wedding music. It's one of my favorite tunes. It's a very beautiful melody. And this is supposed to set a somber tune, somber mood for the bride. Kind of saying, well, look, woman, you've had it good till now. Now you're going to take on some serious responsibilities. And we're also going to cut your hair off, right? So you're not attractive to other men. And it was like very somber, like setting the tone for the bride. The song for the groom wasn't quite so serious. Don't ask why, I don't know. But this is one of those Nachspiel tunes, setting the mood for the bride, Abspielen die Kala. And it's also called the Kachki, Abspielen die Kala. Kachki meant in Yiddish, duck. Why duck? It's named after a violinist, Jewish violinist, who was nicknamed the Duck. So, I thought you might find that interesting. Okay, enough talking for now.
What's the name of it?
Kachki Abspielen the Kala. Kala means bride. K-A-L-E. Chosen, C-H-O-S-N, means groom. You may know the modern Israeli tune, Chosen Kala Mazel Tov. Good luck to the bride and groom. So, but this is going to be a Nachspiel to set the mood for the bride. Very beautiful melody, one of my favorites. So another source of the klezmer music, what we could call, I guess, sectarian, was the music of the Hasids. Hasid movement was started by the Baal Shem Tov, very famous rabbi, teacher, spiritual person, born in about 1690. And the Hasid movement developed in the 1700s and even more in the 1800s. So, yeah, we could write down Hasid, yeah. And Hasids believed that they could be joined with the Almighty, with the Eternal, with God, if you will, through music and dance, as opposed to the somber rabbinical attitude and feeling about prayer and worship. This was about joy and ecstasy and union. And they had tunes that they called nigun. Nigun, plural, nigunim. N-I-G-U-N, nigun. Nigun meant a wordless devotional melody from the heart to bring union with the Eternal. And I love the nigunim. And I'm going to give you some examples of that. Patti, I promise you, we will get to you soon. Patti is a wonderful clarinetist. Well, I know it by heart. So, there were different modes or scales for klezmer music, based to some extent on the old Arabic maqam scales. This particular one is a missionary mode, and I'll play the scale for you, and then I'll play the piece. That's the scale. Talk about Felix. You could play Felix. Okay?
You're not gonna play?
I could play with you. Would you prefer me to play some with you? Yeah. Okay. So, in modern times, well, has everyone heard of a frelach? Frelach means, in Hebrew, happy, joyful. And frelachs are joyful dance tunes, often played at Jewish weddings. Some of them go back quite a ways, and some of them are more modern, Israeli ones. So, this one is entitled very exquisitely Frelach number 1. Now, just for your information, Klezmer music was not written down originally until modern times. It was strictly an oral tradition. Families, dynasties of Klezmer families would possess certain tunes. They would have the rights to those tunes, and they would pass them down from generation to generation, strictly by ear, not written down. So we'll talk more about that later. So this is going to be one of the frelachs that's very joyful, that's played in weddings to this day. And Patti's going to start it, and I'll probably play a few notes to back her up.
Repeats or no repeats?
Sure.
Repeats? No repeats? Okay. The third section of this tune to demonstrate some of the things. Oh yeah, some of the ornaments. So in Klezmer, there's a saying, melody is queen in Klezmer. What does that mean? It means we don't improvise very much, but we can play little ornaments, bends, wails, laughs, chirps, but always coming back to the melody. We don't improvise in the same way that you do in jazz, modern jazz. So in this last section of Frelach number 1, it goes like this. But now I'll play it differently. So you hear that? It's a chirp, right? So that's an example of a klezmer ornament. So, do you want to do Romanian horror or Turk? Preference? Do the Turk. Yeah. Okay, let me talk briefly. Another influence on klezmer music in 1600s, 1700s was Turkish music. As I said, the Klezmorim traveled throughout all of the Pale of settlement. We'll talk about the Pale of this time. But in Eastern Europe, one of the influences was Ottoman, or Turkish. And there's a tune we love to play for you called Turk in America. And it shows the so-called Oriental influence in klezmer music. Another fascinating thing is the hora. And we all think we know what the hora is. But you know what? The old world hora, going back to 1600s, 1700s, was a Romanian dance in a slow 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. As opposed to modern Israeli horas, which are a fast 2/4 or 4/4. So we'd like to play you an example of a Romanian hora. This is called Romanian Hora and Bulgar number 29. And of course, it's editors who have made up these names. They didn't have names. It was strictly things you heard, recognized, and you joined in. Just like a lot of fiddle groups do nowadays, fiddlers. And in this particular tune, the hora portion
at first is the slow hora, one, da 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 dee, da da da, and the Bulgar portion. Now Bulgar is a fast dance, usually in 2/4, but not here. So it's just the same melody again, done more quickly in this case. Sometimes it would be a totally different melody. So Romanian hora and Bulgar, number 29. That's a typical Klezmer ending. Or different Klezmer ending.
It's all minor, right?
Well, that's. Yeah, someone said that's all minor, right? Okay, major and minor keys. That's traditional Western music, right? There are 3 kinds of minor keys typically used in Western music. One called the natural minor is used in Klezmer music. The Klezmer had different, what we called, as I mentioned before, modes. Old scales from the synagogue. And Stu Grotman, a great bass player in one of the wonderful Klezmer groups, Klezmorium, and many others, told me that he had discovered up to 32 Klezmer modes. So there are a lot of them. But there are 2 or 3 that are most commonly used. Well, I did a senior thing. How do we get to modes? Minor, that's minor, right. Yeah, so a lot of Klezmer music is in a minor key or in a mode. But some of the Klezmer tunes, especially more modern ones, are in a regular major key. Especially some of the frelics. So, Patti, any feeling about how we want to go from here?
How about the sheriff?
have this.
You wanna say something about shares?
No.
I'm not sure, oh yeah, I find that. I know these tunes, but somehow it's reassuring to have the music there, even if you're not gonna look at it. Oh, it's okay, I know the tune.
This is not on.
There's a switch.
I just want to say very quickly, a share, it's a dance. It's a set dance similar to the Virginia Reel. I don't know what a Virginia Reel is, but there we go.
Isn't that the one that's also supposed to be like a square dancing?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like square dancing, with sets, couples, and groups. You need it, right?
I'll stand over here and play.
Some of you recognize that tune? Yeah.
How about Laura Abernathy? That's the Israeli into Laura.
Let's see, I didn't know we were gonna do that, but that's fine.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Did we?
Yeah, we played it. Do you have it?
No. I'll probably remember what goes.
Let me just put my pen on it. Oh, cool. Yeah, I can do that.
So this, I believe, is a more modern piece, Hora Agadati,
Very Israeli.
very Israeli, yeah. And for another talk, the relationship, if any, of Israeli music to Klezmer, old world Klezmer music, right, is interesting.
What's the name of it again?
Hora Agadati.
Let's go. Okay. 1, 2, ready, go.
So we'll just have to decide how long to go. We have so much material, and it's coming up on the hour. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the instrumentation of klezmer music. In the old world, so-called old world klezmer, going back to the Middle Ages, klezmer music wasn't called klezmer. Jewish music, gypsy music, was played on strings. The violin was the head of the group, the soloist in the group. There was the baraban, which is a kind of drum, hand drum. There was a cymbal, or cymbalum, hit with sticks, and it would be either placed on a stand, had many strings, or around the neck, cymbalum. And it was only hundreds of years later they started to add brass instruments, trumpets, trombones, tuba. And the clarinet was only invented in 1697. Only started to be used in the 1700s, 1800s. It didn't become used in klezmer music until the 19th century. But little by little, the clarinet took over the role of being the soloist in the klezmer band. And to this day, although violin is of course still widely used. Okay. Well, one of the origins of klezmer music, has anyone ever heard of a mini singer? Mini singer?
Oh,
Mini. Troubadour? Troubadour? Maestro? Yeah. So in the 13, 14, 1500s in Central and Western Europe, the mini singers were German love song singers. Mini means love, courtly love. Same thing with the troubadours. There is this song called Adir Hu. Many of you may have heard of Adir Hu. He who is almighty. Nowadays it's more proper to say that which is almighty instead of he. It could be she, it could be whatever. But the almighty. Mighty is his name. So, the name. But Adir Hu is an ancient melody. And I have one version here that I found online, which is supposed to be one of the mini-singer versions of Adir Hu. And I'd like to play it for you. But there are more Adir Hus, many more. And here's one of them. See if any of you recognize this one. to throw a curve, with your permission. By the way, at Patty's right is Larry Gregg. Oh, Larry Cass was the son of Larry Cass. That's another story. So Larry plays mandolin in Patty's, in their Klezmer group, Klezmer Creek, and Sonoma Klezmer. Yeah. So, when, in the 1800s, we didn't get to talk about the Pale of Settlement, but that would be too long for today. The Pale of Settlement was a big swath of the Russian Empire that Jews migrated to from Central and Western Europe because of persecution and pogroms. And I guess my thought. Well, there's a senior moment again. Some of you can probably relate to that. So, at a certain point, Jews started to come to America. And that was because of, also because of persecution and hardship, pogroms. And between 1880 and 1924, millions of Jews immigrated or migrated to America. At least 3 million was. And one of the famous Klezmer clarinetists, Dave Tarras, if there is a next time, we'll talk about Naftali Brandvin and Dave Tarras, two famous Klezmer clarinetists, totally opposite personalities. But Dave Tarras was very dignified, elegant, studied classical music, amazing musician. Came over in, I think it was 1923, I think. He had to go through Ellis Island, of course. At Ellis Island, they said, we need to fumigate your luggage. He said, wait, my clarinet's in there. Too late. They fumigated, and his clarinet was destroyed. It was a year before, working in America at menial jobs, he was able to save up enough money to buy another clarinet. Went on to become one of the most famous Klezmer musicians of all time, Dave Tarras. Well, one of his arrangements, let me get it up here. No. Here, senior moment number 3. So, another famous Klezmer musician, anyone ever heard of Andy Statman? Yeah, a very famous, incredible mandolin player and clarinetist as well. And Andy played a number of Klezmer groups, made a lot of CD recordings. One of them is called Beyond Heaven and Earth, Between Heaven and Earth. And he made an arrangement of I Dear Who. And that's why I played you these first 2 versions. When you hear this version, you won't see any similarity, but it's an amazing arrangement. Let's see if I can perform it for you.
late. Sorry, I don't know. Let's do something. You wanna do something to do that?
Sure. We talk about the door, and then let that go.
Well, it's
Okay.
I mean, I could talk, what if I talk about my dog?
Yeah, you wanna do a little bit of it,
I'll do
and
it.
then we'll play How Many Hero?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I like to play standing up, it's more natural to my stage hearing. So I just wanna talk very, very quickly, because I know it's getting late, about something called a doina. And for those of you who do listen to classical music, it's like a cadenza. So it's a moment of, like a showpiece for often clarinet, violins too, but clarinets usually do the doinas. And it's rubato, so it's very free-flowing, and I just want to play very, very shortened moments of this doina that I've been working on. And a doina is often followed by a bulgar, sometimes a freilach. This one is followed by a bulgar, and it's called Romanian bullet. So it'll start in minor and then go to major. So I'll play a little bit of the minor key. So that goes on for a while, and then it switches to, that was D minor, now it's going to switch to G major. Then it'll go back to D minor into a bulgar. Borrow your other drum. I need your other drum. Okay. Sorry, I thought we were going to be standing for this. Okay. Now the bulgar. Sorry.
slow first melody, and then we'll start as if it was the beginning, okay? You know what I mean?
While Larry's tuning, just real quick, I had planned kind of on talking about some of the Klezmer dance forms. We have the Bulgar and the Freylock. You just heard of Bulgar. None of this is set in stone. You will see Bulgars called Freylocks and Freylocks called Bulgars. It just depends on who the book editor was. There's no set law about is it a Bulgar or Freylock. It doesn't matter. We know it's a happier, faster piece, usually in 2 or in 4. A husarol is a slower dance, usually in 2, but sometimes in 4. Then there's a hora or zsák, and we just played some horas earlier. A Turkish that we played earlier with that Turkish beat. Bum, 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 bum. Really distinctive beat. The share, which we played one, is a faster dance, a doina, which we did. And then the modes. How much time do you need? Larry?
I'm ready.
Okay. Then the modes, 5 Klezmer modes: major, minor, natural minor, ahava rabah, mishabera. And what they call in this Adonai Moloch, but since I go to services, I learn Adonai Melech. I learned it. You ready?
Once again, thank you very much for coming. We are going to play one last tune for you, which I think you'll all recognize. Just a reminder, there is a display on this table. There's a display of many of the books on Klezmer, the CDs, and the CDs from Jubilee Klezmer Ensemble are $10 or less or more if you like all the